Hi, this is Wishop, and this is a reading for the partial solar eclipse, which happens at the new moon on February 15th at 27 degrees of Aquarius. So we had two full moons in January. So the second full moon in January becomes a blue moon. And because January is a long month of 31 days, and we sneaked a second full moon in there, because February is a short month of only 28 days, there isn't time for another full moon to happen in February. So all we have in February is a new moon, which can make this a great time to think about new beginnings. This time of year does, however, tend to come with kind of a culminating spring cleaning sort of energy. And I'm going to do a separate video talking about why the placement of Valentine's Day, as we experience it in sort of mass market consumer culture in the United States, is somewhat misplaced and misfocused. There are parts of it that make sense to the spiritual tradition of the Wheel of the Year, and other parts that don't make much sense, and I think can help explain why people can feel so dislocated and lost and out of it with this particular celebration. So especially if you find yourself hating or dreading or really feeling melancholy around Valentine's Day, I'm going to talk about other spiritual and world traditions of this time of year, how you can hook into them. Many of those traditions, especially huge ones, are still going on today, and by hooking into them in a conscious way, you can get some of the juice out of this important time of year and connect yourself with live cultural and spiritual traditions that may feel more purposeful and uplifting for you. So anyway, that'll be a separate video since it's going to take a little bit more blather than I have time for here. But what I will say is the lunar eclipse, for me, did bring around interesting revelations, which were completely and very surprisingly, but exactly related to things that I had been dealing with in early August of last year, because I looked up some journal entries and went, wow, that's completely related. Okay, so I hope you've had some interesting revelations too. The nature of the way the stars and planets are right now is, if you've had revelations, you're probably able to view them with a detached sense that might not have been possible 6 months ago. And that's what's happening in this phase of the year. There may be things that you were passionately attached to, or even wounds that you felt very keenly, but a scab is built up on them and is getting ready to slough off. So you're not feeling as attached to these things as you once were. And so moving past them is not feeling like this big, wrenching, horrible thing to contemplate. If you are contemplating at this time of year getting rid of something or moving past something that really hurts, like it's really tugging, this might not be the best time of year to contemplate that particular thing. Look and see if any other things, perhaps even surprising ones, have been brought forward as options, or brought forward for you to recognize the way you've changed since 6 months ago. You go, wow, I really prioritize that differently in my life than I did before. That's what's happening now. You know, your priorities may be shifting around. What used to be number 4 or 5 on your list is number 1. And what was your number 1 is now number 8 or number 10. And you're moving from these things in a calm way. Not so much because you're busy trying to pull them out of you or, pick the scab, but because you're so curious and interested in the new things that you're moving towards. It's just taking you away from those other things. So it's not this horrible process. I think a lot of revelations did get brought up at the end of last year, and now there's a sense of clarity around them, or a sense of understanding, like, okay, I'm kind of seeing what this means to me. And I'm looking at these new things growing in my life, and isn't this interesting? aren't I interesting? I think you're having an ability to have a sense of detachment about yourself, see your own progress with a great deal of curiosity and interest. So I did a test roll of dice to see if that's what wanted to be, just to test it out for the geomancy, to stack up the dice and see if they would stay. Anyway, the cards kind of wanted to keep this roll, so that's what we're keeping. So I've got 3, 3, 4, and 2. So if we do the head, heart, belly, feet approach, we end up with the glyph of Fortuna Minor. So here's Fortuna Minor, which I just have this little mock-up card, and you can see the official glyph in the right corner. I think of Fortuna Minor, which is a Leo-related card, so very related to this axis of the nodes and the eclipses. Fortuna Minor is a sun. It's sort of like a sun in air. It's like a small version of Fortuna Major, which is like the great big juicy one and very lasting change. This is like a stroke of luck, but it's in the air sign, which is Aquarius. So this is like, as you've been moving forward in reprioritizing things, you have made some wishes towards your future. And those wishes are being granted by circumstances and people and maybe even divine timing. These are like little boosts of luck. And so even though they are mobile, meaning they're changeable, they're transient. This is not the lottery win necessarily that changes your life. These boosts of luck are continuing to move you on your path. And I'll point out that those dice add up to 12, which is the Hanged Man in tarot, which is a card of enlightenment. It's a card that precedes the transformation of death, when like the real work is happening. So think of those flowers blooming from the ground. They're working so hard at the point of the card 13. But at 12, the Hanged Man, they're enlightened. They're where we are right now. They're seeing the future and going, oh, isn't that interesting? I see how this all fits together. And that's kind of, I think, the point that we're at. So let's see. This wanted to be sort of a kitchen sink reading, if I didn't say that. So Geomancy and Lenormand and a Gypsy Witch card for the Oracle factor. So let's go here. The Fox. The book. Okay. Interesting. All right. When we deal with the Fox, we can be dealing with issues of livelihood. So it can deal with needing to be adaptable, needing to be skillful, needing to figure out your best move. Often the Fox is somebody who feels that they're a little bit under the gun, and so they're trying to work out their best option. So it can be a card that emphasizes rapid movement or rapid responses to situations. It can be a mercurial card that way. But it can also be a card of talent, and also finding within this opportunity your divine purpose, a path above just getting by. You're looking for something beyond just surviving day to day. And the book can be a card of secrets, and this particular depiction, which is Pixie's Astounding Lenormand, shows a closed book. So oftentimes when the Lenormand shows a closed book, you have an idea of secrets. But this one also has another mercurial sign up here, which is this sign of healing, and it's between pillars, and we have the background of the pomegranates, which are from the High Priestess. So with this particular book card, we really get a sense of these old secrets and these healing secrets that are coming through in the mental realm. They're coming through in the realm of information. They're coming through in a communication that you accept first on an intellectual level, which makes sense with all the Aquarian energy going on right now. So if I look at this as sort of a tied in with Fortuna Minor, I would say that the revelations that you've been having about your, some revelations that came in maybe at the end of January with the lunar eclipse, as you were going through that kind of, if you see this, the 11 portal of 11 degrees, those revelations were connected to your own self-healing and possibly with overcoming a sense of always being under the gun, of always needing to defend yourself or fight for your survival, that there are secrets, so to speak, related to where those feelings have come from. Because the fox can be tied to skills, if you felt that there was something wrong with your skills or that you lacked skills, you could be either seeing ways that you hadn't considered to resolve those issues, to address them, new information, new guidance, books you could read, courses that will help you address those perceived gaps in your skills. But you could also be seeing, why do I feel that way? Why have I felt that something was wrong? Because the fox can relate to things which are wrong. So you're gaining insight on what's been wrong and possibly what's been wrong for a long time, and you're going to see it differently. And because both these cards have this mercurial quality and we're in this Aquarian air energy, you're going to be able to see this not from a position of being emotionally shocked and traumatized, but from this cool position where you can analyze the information that you're getting. So, and I suppose if we tie in this Fortuna Minor, you may end up seeing that revelation as a stroke of luck, that this comes to you and you go, oh, I understand where this feeling has been coming from all this time, and I'm being healed from it. I understand what I've been trying to adapt to or why I felt I'm under the gun, and I can now release that feeling. So let's get to the Gypsy Witch card. Ah, the sun. I freaking love it. Number 1, the sun near signifies happiness and popularity. Near snakes, mice, and dark side of clouds presages vexation. Well, in this case, I would say this sun ties directly to that sense of illumination that I was talking about with the Hanged Man, with this stroke of luck, which we can think of as, maybe divine enlightenment. We have been wishing to understand something better. And like a light bulb coming our direction or lighting up over our head, we are understanding it. We are getting information, and we're getting it in a way that we can really use it, that we feel calm enough, we feel strategic enough, we feel clever enough and detached enough that we can take that information and use it. So I would just say again, if these are things that you feel really wrenched about, try not to pick the scab. It's working. Your wound is healing. It doesn't have to heal, today at 2:15 p.m. It could be another day. As long as you have some confidence within yourself that the healing is happening, this process is unfolding, and it is unfolding quite naturally, so that things which should drift away from you are drifting away from you, and you're not even bothered by it because you're so interested in what you're doing that's new and positive and exciting. So I hope that you have a great partial solar eclipse, new moon, on February 15th. And check out my other video on why you might hate Valentine's Day and what you can do about it. Thank you for your likes and your comments and your subscriptions. Check the description box for shadow cards, and rock on with your bad selves.